quickly by the fury of Lewis's attack.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, as usual, before we get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. It's Cass, hashtag JBT, Mike Mazik. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, boxing in the States, Oregon. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday to Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. How's everyone today? Again, welcome to the Thursday afternoon edition of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. The Boxing in the States series continues today with Oregon. And it's probably going to run a little short, so we're going to look at, after we get finished with Oregon, some of the greatest United States versus Mexico boxing matches of all time. Okay. And today, for our little box highlights of boxing history, we're going to continue with the fight and fighters of the year again, finally. Pick up at the 1970s where we left off at. We've looked at every fight and fighter of the year by Ring Magazine since they started naming it in 1922. And we're all the way up to the 1970s, and that's where we're going to start off today. I like the fight. But yeah, tomorrow is we have boxing, top ranked boxing. Keyshawn Davis, Dennis Berinchek. Should be a good fight. I think Keyshawn will pull it out, but hey, should be a good scrap. You know, he's going up against one of those fundamentally sound Eastern European fighters. It's not going to be easy. Trump in the building. Salute Trump. Boxing in the States, Oregon today. But first, we're going to look at all the fights. Ring Magazine fights and fighters of the year for the 1970s. Okay. That's going to be our highlights of boxing history segment today. And I think Saturday we got Jack Catterall and Arnold Barboza, right? Aren't they fighting Saturday? That should be a good little scrap. Probably Jack Catterall by decision, but I don't know. That can be a tight one. That's good matchmaking there. Catterall and Barboza, yeah. And then you know what next Saturday is? The 22nd. It's round 2. Beterbiev versus Bivol for the second matchup. Going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, because the first fight, I thought if Bivol would have finished, he had it, but kind of like put his hands in the pocket in the championship rounds, because, you know, Beterbiev was sending a lot back at him, and Bivol just said, man, I got to keep my hands back to protect myself. And kind of like let up in the championship rounds and blew it. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight goes. He's going to have to finish. All Bivol had to do was finish last time. I still thought he won, but he really let up at the end, and, you know, that didn't look good to the judges. And that cost him. So we get round 2. The rematch is next Saturday, the 22nd. And that card has 7 championship fights on it. Just a great card. And next week is fight week 4. But let's get into our highlights of boxing history. Fights and fighter of the year for the 1970s. Had some good ones. There's some good heavyweight fights, but not just heavyweight. 70s was a great decade overall for boxing. Just about every champion, anybody that was a champion in the 70s is in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Yeah, that's right, Trump. If it's close, yeah, Catterall will get it. He will get the home cooking. But that is great matchmaking there. Very, very good matchup. Catterall and Barboza. I'm looking forward to that one. Okay, let's fight and fighters of the year for the 1970s. Okay, the fight of the year for 1970 was Carlos Monzon versus Nino Benvenuti. Monzon knocked out Groggy Benvenuti of Italy with a crashing right hook in the 12th round to become the world middleweight champion. Monzon achieved the distinction of handing Benvenuti his first defeat in his native Italy. The fight took place on November 7th, 1970 in Rome, Italy. And the fighter of the year for 1970 was Smoking Joe Frazier. That was his second time winning the award. Frazier went 2-0 in 1970 with stoppage win, both with stoppage wins, and including winning his first world championship with a 4th round stoppage of Jimmy Ellis. Fighter of the year 1970, Smoking Joe Frazier. Okay, for 1971, the fight of the year, you know who that was. Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali won. On March 8th, 1971 at Madison Square Garden, Frazier and Ali met in the fight of the century, which is one of the most iconic fights of all time. Frazier won a 15-round unanimous decision, giving Ali the first loss of his career, dropping him in the 14th round. And that fight was so iconic that on the 30th year anniversary, March 8th, 2001, their daughters fought. So how's that for iconic? Later, Ali versus Jackie Frazier lied. Okay? They dubbed it Ali Frazier 4, with later Ali winning that one. That's iconic. 30 years later, both of their daughters fought. Wow. And the fighter of the year for 1971 was Smoking Joe Frazier again. Okay? Now, the fight of the century was Frazier's only fight in 1971, but his performance was enough to earn him his second consecutive Fighter of the Year award and his third overall. Yeah, whoever would have won that fight would have been Fighter of the Year. You know, Frazier or Ali, just happened to be Frazier. And that was his second consecutive, third overall. Let's go to 1972. The fight of the year for 1972 was Bob Foster versus Chris Finnegan. On September 26, 1972, in London, England, Bob Foster knocked out Chris Finnegan in the 14th round of a slugfest. Finnegan was more than holding his own with Foster for the first 9 rounds in a very competitive fight, but he was knocked out in the 10th round and seemed to never recover as he faded down the stretch. And the Fighter of the Year for 1972 was Muhammad Ali, picking up his third time winning the award. We had co-fighters of the year 72, Muhammad Ali and Carlos Monzon. Okay, co-fighters of the year for that year. Now, Muhammad Ali went 3-0 for the year, including wins over Floyd Patterson and Bob Foster to win the award for the third time. He shared the award with Carlos Monzon, who successfully defended his undisputed middleweight title 4 times. Monzon had 4 defenses that year, went 4-0. Co-fighters of the year for 72, Muhammad Ali and Carlos Monzon. Okay. 1973, fight of the year, Big George Foreman versus Smoking Joe Frazier, won. Foreman put Frazier on the deck 6 times on the way to a second round TKO, winning the WBC and WBA World Heavyweight Championships. The fight took place on January 22nd, 1973 in Kingston, Jamaica. Your Foreman put him down 6 times in 2 rounds. Foreman was just a terrible style matchup for Frazier because Frazier was small, heavyweight, and he only knew one way to fight coming forward. And man, trying to get inside against a big, strong guy like George Foreman with power in both hands, just a terrible style matchup for Joe Frazier. And he went down 6 times on the way to getting stopped in the second round. And the Fighter of the Year for 1973 was George Foreman, Big George. George Foreman won 2 fights in 1973. In the first one, he became the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, winning the Fight of the Year against Joe Frazier. So Big George, Fighter of the Year in 1973. He was in the Fight of the Year and Fighter of the Year in 1973. For 1974, the Fight of the Year was Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle, October 30th, 1974, Kinshasa, Zaire. Ali shocked the world again. 10 years after he upset Sonny Liston, Ali came in as a heavy underdog against Big George Foreman, with nobody giving him a chance to win. Ali unveiled his famous rope-a-dope tactic, draining Foreman's gas tank and knocking him out in the 8th round. And of course, the fighter of the year for 1974 was who else? Muhammad Ali. Okay. Muhammad Ali won fighter of the year for 1974, mainly because of his win over George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. But he also won the rematch with Joe Frazier in his only other fight that year. Okay. And it was Ali's fourth time winning the award. Yep, he had the win over the big upset over George Foreman, and he won the rematch with Joe Frazier in 1974 to win fighter of the year. 1975, everybody knows what the fight of the year was then. Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier 3, The Thriller in Manila. Okay, October 1st, 1975, Manila, the Philippines. Ali won the rubber match with Joe Frazier in what many call the best fight of all time. Ali won by TKO when Frazier failed to come out for the 15th and final round. And of course, fighter of the year for 1975, Muhammad Ali. Ali had 4 fights overall in 1975, including the Thriller in Manila, the rubber match with Joe Frazier. He won all 4 fights, earning his 2nd consecutive Fighter of the Year award and 5th overall. Muhammad Ali, his 5th Fighter of the Year award. Mike Graham, salute Mike. We're looking at fight and Fighter of the Year for the 70s. Yeah, Mike, we finally continued the Fight and Fighters of the Year awards. We're up to 1976. Fight of the Year for 1976 was George Foreman versus Ron Lyle. Now, Foreman versus Lyle, without a doubt, was one of the most action-packed slugfests ever. Now, Lyle almost finished Foreman in the 4th round, but Foreman was saved by the bell. Foreman then came out and stopped Lyle in the 5th round. And then the Fighter of the Year for 1976 was Big George Foreman, winning the award for a 2nd time. Now, Foreman won 3 other fights in 1976, but it was no doubt his performance against Lyle in the Fight of the Year that earned him his 2nd Fighter of the Year award. George Foreman, 1976, Fighter of the Year. 1977, Fight of the Year. Jimmy Young versus George Foreman. Okay, Foreman again. Young beat Foreman in a fight in 1977, ending Foreman's undefeated streak. Yeah, that was Foreman's, I think it was his 2nd loss. He hadn't lost since he had lost to Ali a few years before. Now, the fight was held on March 3rd, 1977 in Puerto Rico. Young knocked Foreman down in the final round and won by unanimous decision. And the Fighter of the Year for 1977 was Carlos Zarate. Zarate went 4-0 in 1977, including taking on WBA bantamweight champion Alfonso Zamora, which was arguably the biggest fight between 2 Mexicans in the last 50 years. Their combined records coming into the fight was 74-0 with 73 knockouts. Okay, 74-0, 73 knockouts between them. Zarate won the fight by 4th round TKO. And that's probably what earned him Fighter of the Year. He had 3 other fights, went 4-0, but that was the big one against Alfonso Zamora. And he stopped him in the 4th round. 1978, Fight of the Year. Leon Spinks versus Muhammad Ali 1. Now, Spinks versus Ali happened on February 15th, 1978 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, the fight was contested for the WBA, WBC, and Ring World Heavyweight Championships. Just like Ali shocked the world in 1964 against Liston and 1974 against Foreman, 7-fight novice Leon Spinks shocked the world, beating Ali by 15-round split decision. Only had 7 fights, Spinks did. Ali regained the title later in the year in the rematch. And the fighter of the year for 1978 was Muhammad Ali. Ali won the rematch with Leon Spinks and became the only one at that time to win the World Heavyweight Championship for the third time. It was Ali's sixth time winning the Fighter of the Year award, and that's still the most of any fighter. 6. Ali holds the record at 6. And finally, 1979's fight of the year was Danny Little Red Lopez versus Mike Ayala. On June 17, 1979, in San Antonio, Texas, Danny Little Red Lopez defeated Mike Ayala with a thrilling 15th round knockout and retained his WBC featherweight title. And the fighter of the year for 1979 was Sugar Ray Leonard. Leonard had 9 fights in 1979, winning all of them, including a win over Wilfred Benitez, which earned him his first major title as a professional boxer, which was the WBC World Welterweight Championship. He had 9 fights for Sugar Ray that year. Went 9-0, won his first title, WBC Welterweight title of Wilfred Benitez, to earn him his first Fighter of the Year award. Okay, Sugar Ray Leonard. There you have it. Fight and Fighters of the Year for the 70s. Tomorrow, we will do the 80s. We're going to finish it on up. We had a big gap in between the 60s and the 70s, but we're going to go to the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2000 teens. We're going to finish up Ring Magazine's fight. And have they named it for this year yet? I haven't heard anything. It's taking a long time. It's almost March. They probably have, but I just haven't heard about it. But I think it's definitely going to be Usyk for Fighter of the Year, and it should. And I would pick for Fight of the Year, Virgil Ortiz and Sergio Boachuk. That was a dandy there. When they came out there every round, it came right to the middle and stayed right that same spot almost every round for 12 rounds and duked it out, man. That was a fight. Or it could be better be Evan Bivol too. I wouldn't be mad if that one got it, but I can't think of any others to beat Virgil and Boachuk or Bivol and Beterbiev won for Fighter of the Year. I can't think of any to top those. Not yet, anyway. But we'll see. I don't know. They should have named it by now, though, I guess. I haven't heard anything. Okay, let's get ready to start talking about Oregon. Like I said, it's going to run short, and then the backup plan, we're going to look at some of the best United States versus Mexico fights of all time. Okay? Later on in the show. That should be interesting. You know, like Sweet Pea and Julio Cesar Chavez, Danny Garcia, and I forgot who Danny fought. It was a good fight, though. We're going to cover it. Yeah, Danny had, I can't remember who it was. One of those great Mexican fighters back there a few years back. Yeah, that was a barn burner. Okay, we're going to check it out after we finish with Oregon. But yeah, we're almost a week away from the drawing now for the chance to win a ticket to the Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach fight up there in Brooklyn. And 2 weeks away from the JBT meet and greet.
New York during the Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach fight week, Friday, February 28th from 8 p.m. until midnight. If you're planning on being in town for the fight, pull up on us at the meet and greet. Tickets can be purchased via Cash App at JBT Network 1. That's JBT Network 1. There is an early bird special for $20 from now until February the 1st. Then it's $30. That covers entry and food. There will also be a cash bar, so make sure you get your tickets early. Only a limited number of tickets will be sold, so make sure that you are in that number. Several door prizes will be given away. For more information, call 410-322.
That's enough of that. Sorry, that's enough of that. Okay, let's get back, get ready to do the show. No disrespect, but that gets tiresome. Listen to that, I'm sorry. I ain't playing that no more. Okay. Let's get to the show. Boxing in the States, Oregon. How's everybody? Today is late in the week, almost to the weekend. Thomas Hill in the building. Crush the Legend in the building. Salute, gentlemen. Crush the Legend. Another great episode this morning. Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Crush was firing on all cylinders this morning. Wow. Talking about that performance by Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl. You know, a lot of people wasn't paying attention. And a lot of that negativity against it was racist too. We live in a racist country, we might as well face facts, man. Yeah. And a lot of that negativity on social media was from a bunch of haters and racists, because the president was at the first Super Bowl. What happened to the prices going down, man? I went to the store the other day. It was eggs, 18 pack of eggs was $9. So a lot of people said they voted for Donald Trump because he was going to take prices down. When are they going to start going down, man? I don't want to get into politics, but goddamn, look like this shit done went up. So damn. I'm just wondering, man. Shit. I mean, that's why they say they voted for him, because he was going to take prices down. God damn. They done went up, man. I said 18 pack of eggs. Nah, I put them back. I said, I won't eat no eggs this week. But let's get started with the show. This is boxing. Okay. Boxing in the States. Oregon. Okay. But how's everybody today? Salute to Crush the Legend. Thomas Hill just came in the building. And yeah, this is going to run a little short, and then we're going to talk about some of the best United States versus Mexico fights, like this one. The judges got that one all wrong, Sweet Pea and Julio Cesar Chavez, but we're going to talk about it. But boxing in the States, Oregon going to run a little short. We got a little history there. We got a few boxers from Oregon and a couple of venues up there. We're going to talk about this town called Boring, Oregon, but it wasn't boring, And then we had a Jack Dempsey from Oregon, not the Jack Dempsey, but this Jack Dempsey was before the world champion Jack Dempsey. He's from Oregon. We're going to talk about him too. Yep. But let's get started. Boxing in the States, Oregon. Now, Oregon has a long history of boxing, including notable boxers, boxing clubs, and boxing venues. Now, boxing clubs. The Knott Street Boxing Club, located in Portland's Albina neighborhood. This club produced a national championship team and many recognizable boxers. We're going to get into Knott Street Boxing Club a little bit deeper in a few minutes. Boxing venues. The Howlett Theater. In the 1920s, the Howlett Theater in Portland, Oregon was a popular destination for boxing matches. The theater also showed films featuring famous boxers and other boxing history. Jack Dempsey, also known as Don Perel, fought in Portland in 1885. See, that's not the Jack Dempsey, that's the other Jack Dempsey. Tommy Burns fought in Boring, Oregon, and later became the world heavyweight champion. Yes, he did. And some other notable boxers, a few notable boxers in Oregon. We're going to get more into that when we do the boxers from Oregon, but a couple of notable boxers from Oregon include Jack Dempsey, known as Don Perel. Dempsey was born in Ireland and fought in Portland in 1885. Farmer Joe Cahoot. Born in 1923, Farmer Joe became the Pacific Coast Light Heavyweight Champion and the Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Champion. Ray Lampkin Jr., also known as Lightning Ray, Lampkin won the Montevilla Community Center Novice Tournament at what? It's got age 1. That's got to be a misprint. When the Montevilla Community Center Novice Tournament at age 1. You know, that's got to be a misprint. Age 1. Damn. Tom Moyer. Moyer was a lightweight boxer who won the Northwest Championship from 1935 to 41, 6 years straight. Molly McConnell. McConnell became a world champion and mentored a new generation of fighters. Now let's talk about the Knox Street Boxing Club up there in Oregon. Famous boxing club up there, Knox Street. The Knox Street Boxing Club. Just a little short piece. Okay. Now the club brought, I don't need this light. The club brought the national spotlight to Portland, Oregon, with the most successful amateur boxing program in the country. Okay, let me start over. The club brought the national spotlight to Portland, Oregon, with the most successful amateur boxing program in the country. The club had 9 National Amateur Athletic Union champion boxers. In 1961, Knott Street won the U.S. Team Boxing Championship. 2 Knott Street boxers participated in the 1964 U.S. Olympic boxing trials, and 3 participated in the 1968 U.S. Olympic boxing trials. In 1968, Knott Street was the only amateur boxing team in U.S. history to have 3 national champions on the same team at the same time. Only time in history, before or since. They had 3 national champions on the same team at the same time in Oregon, okay? The club has produced many recognizable names, including Adolfo Akil, Michael Colbert, Steve Forbes, Jody Harris, Joe Hopkins, Johnny Howard, Lewis Johnson, Oregon Hall of Famer Ray Lampkin Jr., Chuck Lincoln, A. Halem Rassan, Wade Smith, and Thad Spencer. Most notable boxer to come out of this probably Ray Lampkin or the other guy. What was his name? Yeah, probably Ray Lampkin. Yeah. Now the list of names could continue on and on. Administration, coaches, and athletes, Knott Street Boxing Club truly made a special contribution to the state of Oregon. Yeah, the Knox Street Boxing Club, famous club up there in Oregon. Okay. Now, let's talk about the thrilling history of the town of Boring, Oregon. I think it was named after some Civil War general. Boring. Let me get that going. There it is. Boring, Oregon. Stay with me for a minute. The thrilling history of Boring, Oregon. There it is right there. Nope, that ain't it. Okay, here we go. Way down there on the bottom. All right. In black and white, too. Okay. Now, no, the town of Boring wasn't named such because it was a dull place to be. The town was actually named after a Civil War veteran who settled in the area during the 1800s. But the name isn't the most interesting thing about the town's history, okay? As you drive along Highway 212, heading east from Clackamas, you're welcome to Boring, Oregon, an unincorporated small town in Clackamas County, up there in Oregon. I've never been to Oregon. The town, despite what many might think, was not named after the adjective. It wasn't a boring place. No, the town of Boring is named after a guy named William Boring, who donated land for the first school up there, okay? William Harrison Boring and his wife Sarah moved from Illinois and settled in the area in the 1870s. He was in the Civil War. He was an American Union soldier. The couple donated some of their land for the first school. The ever-important post office was also established, and those helped the location earn the name of Boring, Oregon. And that's about it. That's the short version of how Boring got his name. Now, the city history of Boring is exciting. There's plenty of histories. There's the boxing story, okay? Now, here's the boxing story. In the year 1905, the people of Boring, Oregon were being terrorized by one man. This guy named Free Coldwell moved to town and started fights with everybody. He claimed he was a prize fighter. Now, Coldwell was described in the Sunday Oregonian newspaper as a big guy with red hair and arms like a gorilla. He was tough looking on the outside, but not as tough on the inside, as he would soon find out. Now listen, they played a trick on this bully, right? He was a menace to society and was picking fights, and Boring residents had enough, according to historians. So they hired a guy who was training in Portland, a guy named Tommy Burns, to come fight him, okay? Now, Tommy Burns was a professional fighter, but they didn't tell his bully that, right? He thought he fighting a regular everyday guy. Now listen, boxers, Tommy Burns was a Canadian-born boxer, an up-and-coming prize fighter, and he later became the heavyweight champion. He was training in Portland for a fight. So to disguise who he really was, the town had him go by his given name of Mr. Brusso in hopes that Coldwell wouldn't figure out who he was fighting. And the town gave Burns one rule. We want you to beat up Free Coldwell as much as you can, but just don't kill him. You don't have to pay any money to bury him. So they hired this professional boxer. This bully was going around starting fights with everybody, right? So they had this professional boxer was training in town for a fight. So they hired him to pick a fight with this guy. And the guy didn't know he was a professional boxer. He thought he was just another everyday guy that he was going to beat up on, right? So a crowd gathered inside a small building in Boring to watch the town bully hopefully get what he deserved. So they have their match, and Tommy Burns actually plays it up. He pretends to not be as good as he actually was. After 3 rounds, Coldwell thought he was winning, but little did he know who he was actually fighting. 4th round comes around, and that's when he's like, I'm ready to do the real thing. Burns punches Free Coldwell straight in the nose. Burns struck Coldwell so hard that Coldwell's nose started to bleed. The Sunday Oregonian newspaper wrote after the fight that his blood was a shade darker than his hair. Then in the 5th round, Burns stopped playing around and gave Coldwell a punch to the gut. And then this bully, Coldwell, jumped out of the ring and protested, saying, "That's no fair to hit a man in the stomach." And then Coldwell refused to get back in the ring. Burns was declared the winner. His grand prize was $4.90. The next day, the headline in the Sunday Oregonian read, "Not a bully, just a quitter." The Sunday Oregonian newspaper, February 26, 1905, carries the story of Free Coldwell's defeat at the hands of professional boxer Tommy Burns. That's what he was known for in the town of Boring from that day on. And that's probably why we've never heard his name in the newspaper archive after that. Burns, on the other hand, would go on to eventually become the world heavyweight champion, a title he would eventually lose to Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, during the height of Jim Crow. as Taney will attest, the name of the town may be boring, but its history is anything but boring. Yeah, they went and hired this professional boxer to teach the bully a lesson, and he quit and jumped out of the ring. The man broke his nose, then he hit him in the stomach, and the bully said, "No." He jumped out of there. See, bullies always want something easy. When somebody stand up and fight them, that's it. Okay, so now let's talk about some boxers from Oregon. Some boxers from Oregon. Okay, let's see. Here we got the Jack Dempsey. This Jack Dempsey fought before the heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey. Okay, let's talk about it. It's Portland's original boxer, Jack Dempsey. Here we go, way down on the bottom again. Portland's original boxer, Jack Dempsey. On the nonpareil Jack Dempsey. Now, this Jack Dempsey retired with a 50-3 record. Okay. I think that's him right there. Yeah, that's Jack. Yeah, that's Jack. See, that's not the Jack Dempsey. This one fought before the heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey. Okay. All right, here we go. Y'all got them Keyshawn? Or will Dennis be too much for him? Be too technical for Keyshawn? I got Keyshawn, 12-round unanimous decision. Some people got a late stoppage, but yeah, I think he'll get a 12-round unanimous decision. But I don't know. I won't be the least bit surprised if the Eastern European Ukrainian fighter pulls it out, then, because it's not going to be like Lemos throwing all those wide hooks and leaving himself wide open, being repetitive. Nah, Berinchik ain't going to fight like that. He's going to be smart. He ain't going to make no mistakes. Any mistakes Keyshawn make going to be capitalized on. That's how those guys fight, man. They are smart. Good footwork, good ring generals, no wasted punches, everything thrown with purpose for a reason. High ring IQs. And it's tomorrow. What we have is a wake up. But Jack Dempsey, beneath an intentionally nondescript headstone in Mount Calvary Cemetery on West Burnside rests Portland's greatest boxer, the nonpareil Jack Dempsey. Dempsey was born John Edward Kelly in Ireland and moved to the Williamsburg area of Brooklyn at a young age. Now, like many immigrants of the day, the destitute Dempsey soon dropped out of school, plying a trade before picking up wrestling and ultimately boxing. In 1885, he arrived in Portland, Oregon to fight a burly volunteer firefighter named Dave Campbell. Now, because boxing was widely condemned, local fights took place in the shadows. The October 17, 1885 Oregon Sentinel newspaper alerted readers that the upcoming Dempsey-Campbell fight would take place within 100 miles of Portland. In the middle of the night on November 2nd, a bevy of steamships took fans via the Columbia River, eventually arriving at the farm of one J. Specht in what was still the Washington Territory. Now, the two pugilists fought in a meadow after a hard rain. Footing proved to be perilous, as someone forgot to bring sawdust to scatter on the ground. Now, Dempsey nonetheless landed a ferocious shot in the third round, knocking his opponent out cold. A month later, Dempsey won a second fight in Portland, then returned to the fight mecca of New York, but not before falling for a local, Maggie Brady, whose upstanding family did not look kindly upon boxers. Dempsey garnered national renown, retiring with a 50-3 record. After having reigned for years as undefeated champion, his nonpareil nickname a nod to his rep for being without equal. The great Dempsey returned to his wife's hometown, suffering from tuberculosis. He died at age 32. There was a campaign to erect a monument in Dempsey's honor, but the Brady family preferred a meager gravestone that betrays nothing of his profession. Yeah, his wife's family was against boxing and boxers. Of course, the name will always be famous, but that's largely because another boxer, an eventual heavyweight champion with the same last name, so admired the earlier Dempsey that he too fought under the name Jack, right? Yeah, the heavyweight Jack Dempsey took his name from this Jack Dempsey. Now, the later Jack Dempsey came to be known as the Manasseh Mauler. He was born in 1895, the same year his boxing idol died, in a stately house owned by the Brady family at 389 Grand Avenue in the fight town of Portland. Yep. The second Jack Dempsey was born the same year that his idol, the first Jack Dempsey, died. And he was born in a house owned by the Brady family, who the first Jack Dempsey married into, and they didn't like boxing, right? Okay, so let's go to some other boxers from Oregon now. Okay, boxers from Oregon. Then we're going to talk about some of the best United States versus Mexico fights ever. Okay, so let's get into that. Tomorrow, the profile is the life and career of Vitaly Klitschko. And then next week is Don King. And the week after that, it's the Bob Father. We're going to do the Don King and the Bob Father back to back, because like I've been telling you all week, love them or hate them, they have been very significant to the sport of boxing. Gave us some great fights, you know, and they didn't like each other. They almost got physical back in the day, getting ready to exchange hands. But they put their differences aside when it came to making that paper, you know, making those big fights, because all the big names back in the day fought under one of us banner, either Don King or Bob Arum. You name it, Marvin Hagler, Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Duran. Either one of them fought under Don King or Bob Arum. And to make all those fights, they put their differences aside and made the money. Some of these promoters nowadays could learn some lessons from the Bob Father and Don King. And both of them still promoting. The Bob Father's still going strong at the head of the top ranked company, and Don King still doing a little something on the side. So yeah, we're going to talk about Don King's life and career next week. The following week is the life and career of the Bob Father, Bob Arum. Yep, so don't miss those. But tomorrow, Vitaly Klitschko. And then his brother Vladimir coming up in a couple weeks. Do the oldest brother first. Vitaly is the oldest, right? I think. Yeah. Yeah, Vitaly is the oldest. That's how I tell the oldest. Because I say Vitaly, another one name start with W. V comes before W. That's how I tell Vitaly is the oldest. He came first. Because V comes before W, right? Okay, now what was I doing? I was doing some boxers from Oregon. Okay, the first one, well, Jack Dempsey was first. The next one is Denny Moyer. Yeah, that's the name I was looking for. He's another one of the more famous boxers from Oregon, Denny Moyer. Okay. It's Denny on the right in the white. The shorts, the Sugar Ray Robinson and Ali wore. But Denny was before them, so hey. It ain't those Sugar Ray Robinson and Ali shorts, chunks. Ali got it from Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray was Ali's idol, you know. Yeah, Denny Moyer. Now, He held the world light junior middleweight title between 19. Well, he was after them. I thought Denny was okay. Denny fought. He held the world light middleweight title between 1962 and 1963. Got my signals mixed up. I thought he fought way before that. But he finished his career with 98 wins, 38 losses, 4 draws record. And Denny is from Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon. Okay. Next, this is probably the most famous boxer from Oregon right here, Ray Lampkin Jr. Ray Lampkin Jr. Let me see something, man. Yeah, that's Ray Lampkin on the left there. Ray Lampkin Jr. And Ray is from Portland also. Almost all these boxers are from Portland. Yeah, Ray is from Portland, Oregon. And Ray had won 34 fights, lost 6, had 1 draw with 16 knockouts. Okay? Yeah. A little bit about Ray. Just a little brief. I'm not trying to bore y'all to death. Okay? Talk a little bit about Ray. He fought Roberto Duran too. Lost to him, but he fought it. Now, Ray from Portland, Oregon, he lost the 1975 WBA lightweight title fight against Roberto Duran. Went to Panama to fight Roberto in his home. Now, Lampkin lasted 14 rounds against the hard-hitting Duran. Duran got him out of there. It was 15 rounds back then, right? Duran got him out of there in the 14th round. Ray won the North American Boxing Federation lightweight title, but later lost it against Esteban de Jesus. Okay, so fought some of the big names. Lost to both Duran and Esteban de Jesus. He had the NABF title, lost that to de Jesus. And like I said, finished his career with 34 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws, 16 knockouts, right? And he was inducted into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. Okay? Did I get that right? No, he had 1 draw. 1 draw, okay, for Ray Lampkin. Next, Steve Forbes, boxers from Oregon. Steve Forbes, okay? That's Steve doing that left hand, letting that left hand go on the left there, okay? Boxers from Oregon. Steve Forbes. There we go. There's Steve. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I need this light on. There we go. Yeah. Stephen Felipe Stevie Forbes. He was an American boxer. He was from, I guess he is American, from Portland, right? From Portland, Oregon. All these guys from Portland. Wow. And Steve is a former IBF super featherweight champion. You know, his nickname was 2 Pound. He was in recognition of the fact that he was born weighing only 2 pounds. Only 2 pounds when he was born. Now, Steve won 36 fights. He lost 14, won 11 by knockout. Steve Forbes. Okay? Boxers from Oregon. Next is Joe Benjamin. There's Joe. Now, yeah, Joe looks like he fought way back. Joe Benjamin. Joe from Portland. Told you all these guys from Portland. Now, Joe won 51, lost 25. He had 22 draws and 9 no contests. What was Joe doing? 22 draws and 9 no contests. 19 knockouts. Wow. That's a lot of draws and no contests, ain't it? For Joe. Now, he was a Pacific Coast featherweight boxing champion in 1915 and a 1922 World Junior Lightweight Boxing Championship contender against Johnny Dundee. In his 51 reported wins, 51 reported wins on BoxRec, he had 19 by knockout. Yeah, 19 by knockout, giving him an impressive. No, that's not impressive at all. Knockout ratio. 51 wins and 19 knockouts is not impressive. Let me check that. That's a knockout ratio of 37%. My bad. But anyway, he had 51 wins, 25 losses, 22 draws, 9 no contests, and 19 knockouts for Joe Benjamin. Next is Daryl Dixon. Daryl Dixon. Couldn't find a picture on Daryl. Just to keep my place there. Put that up there. Daryl Dixon. Now Daryl was from Daryl is from Portland, Oregon. Okay. 12 wins, 5 losses, 8 knockouts. He didn't have a long career. 8 knockouts and 12 wins. Almost 70%. But Daryl, yeah, he competed from 1997 to 2001, just 4 years. As an amateur, he was a 2-time United States amateur heavyweight champion. Daryl Dixon. Thad Spencer. Thad Spencer. Yes, Thad Spencer. Just a couple more. And we're going to talk about some of the greatest United States versus Mexico fights of all time. That should be good. Oregon going to run a little short. Thad Spencer. Okay. Lord Freezer. He was a good fighter, but he could never beat erased the daggone track. Salute Lord Freezer. He said he was a good fighter, but he could never beat Zarbon. He last in the amateurs. Which one were you talking about, Lord Freezer? But salute, Lord Freezer. Sound like Lord Freezer from Oregon. We appreciate you stopping by today. Cast Sports, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., bringing you all that boxing history. Okay, now where were we? Man. Thad Spencer? Yeah, Thaddeus Spencer Jr. Now, Thad was from Portland, 32 wins, 13 losses, 1 draw, 14 knockouts for Thad Spencer. Okay? Just a couple more. Now, Thad made his professional boxing debut in May 1960. After building up a 31-5 record, Spencer was considered one of the top boxers of his time. Mm-hmm. And he finished with 32 and 30. Ooh, he had 31-5, so he only lost with like 1-8 to finish out his career. Wow. Okay. Brandon Gonzalez is next. Brandon Gonzalez. Here's Brandon. Brandon Gonzalez. Okay. Brandon Gonzalez is an American. He's from Portland. All these guys from Portland. And as an amateur, he was a top-rated U.S. and middleweight fighter. Okay, top-rated. Of Mexican and American heritage. And Brandon had a career record of 18 wins, just 1 loss, 1 draw, 1 no contest, and 10 knockouts. Mike Wilson. A couple more, then we're going to talk about some of the greatest Mexican United States battles of all time. That's Mike on the left, Mike Wilson. Okay? Mike Wilson. Now, Mike is from Medford, found somebody not from Portland. From Medford, Oregon, Mike had a career record of 21 wins, 2 losses, 10 knockouts. Mike Wilson. That's Mike on the left there. Mike had the WBA and NABA cruiserweight titles, right, in 2018. As an amateur, he was a 2-time U.S. national champion at super heavyweight. Mike Wilson. And finally, Mysterious Billy Smith. Mysterious Billy Smith. Wow. Here's Mysterious Billy Smith. What a nickname. That sounds like the nickname of a professional wrestler. Oh, Mysterious. Wow. Let's pick up Mysterious. We're gonna talk about the can't find too much on Mysterious. And Mysterious was from Portland, Oregon, and he had 37 wins, 25 losses, 27 draws, 5 no contests, 24 knockouts. 27 draws. That's a lot of draws, ain't it? We couldn't find too much on it, but I found a little something on it. Okay. Now, he was a 2-time world welterweight champion, okay? First at 21 in 1892, then again in 1898 at the age of 27. He became famous worldwide for his boxing success and also became infamous for his associations and involvement with criminal activities in Portland, Oregon in the early 1900s. He was later described as the dirtiest fighter of all time. Wow. Described as the dirtiest fighter of all time. Damn. Mysterious. Okay. Let's talk about some of these greatest Mexican and United States matchups of all time. That's all I have on Oregon. Next week is I don't know, what's after Oregon? I do this every week. And I was thinking about that earlier, finding out what's after Oregon, so I wouldn't have to look it up as the show going along. But let me look it up. United States in alphabetical order. Anybody know what's after Oregon? I'm getting ready to find out. Next week will be, what was the big one? Texas. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Pennsylvania. That should be pretty good. Next week, boxing in the States, Pennsylvania. That should be good. Okay. Let's look at this United States versus Mexico matchups. Some of the best ones. Okay. This was a pretty good one here. It's going to be like the face of the story. United States versus Mexico matchup. That's Sweet Pea and JCC. Top 10 Mexico-U.S. fights. Mexico-United States fights. Okay? Let's check them out. Erik Morales versus Junior Jones. This fight was in Tijuana, Mexico, September 12th, 1998. Okay? September 12th, 1998 in Tijuana, Mexico. Okay, here we go. Tijuana, Mexico. Erik Morales versus Junior Jones. Now, Morales was just starting to shine as junior featherweight champion when the 32-year-old boxer from Tijuana crushed Poison Jones in 4 rounds. The victory extended Morales' reign and ended the run the American Jones had begun with consecutive wins over Mexican Marco Antonio Barrera. Yep. Danny Garcia versus Eric Morales 2. This fight was in Brooklyn, New York, October 20th, 2012. Now, the aging legend, Eric Morales, was looking to recover the junior welterweight title from the young American Garcia, who had already beaten him in March 2012, right earlier that year, in an exciting fight. But in the rematch, the idol of Philadelphia not only beat the 36-year-old Mexican again, he also knocked him out in the fourth round on what would be the swan song of El Turbo's on American soil at the Barclays Center. Yep, Danny Garcia got his second win against El Turbo. Sugar Shane Mosley versus Antonio Margarito, Los Angeles, January 24th, 2009. Yes, Sugar Ray put a beating on him, on Margarito. It was expected that Margarito, who was fresh off his dethroning of Miguel Cotto, he cheated, Miguel, we had the stuff in his gloves, would reach the pinnacle of boxing when he faced Sugar Shane for the welterweight title. However, before a full house at the Staples Center, the California native knocked Margarito out in the 9th round and stripped him of his title, and not without first finding a concealed forbidden bandage under Margarito's hand wraps before the fight. Remember that? Yeah. Margarito, that was when he was exposed because he busted Cotto up, but he didn't get exposed until before that Sugar Shane fight. Yeah. And Sugar Shane put a whipping on him, beat him bad, and knocked him out in the 4th round. I remember that. I saw that one live. I wasn't at the Staples Center, but that was on TV as that happened. Yeah. And they found some stuff in his hand wraps before the fight. The cheater. Mm-hmm. But Cotto did beat him in the rematch. Right. But he busted Cotto up bad in that fight. The next one, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Jose Luis Castillo won. Las Vegas, Nevada, April 20th, 2002. We're talking about some of the best United States versus Mexico matchups ever. Floyd and Jose Luis Castillo. The ones a lot of people still argue say Floyd lost. But go back and look at it. Floyd won it. It was a very good fight, but Floyd outdid it. Now, what many remember from this night at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, was a debated decision. Castillo had done enough in the eyes of some to beat the man then known as Pretty Boy. But in the end, the scorecards, 116-111, 115-111, 115-111, gave the Mayweather the victory and the lightweight championship, okay? The American went on to win the rematch by an even tighter unanimous decision 8 months later. I thought the rematch was a little bit more clearer, personally. But yeah, he won both of them. Then was just the haters wanting to see Floyd lose so bad. Anytime he in a close fight, the haters gonna say he lost it, right? Because they want him to lose so bad. But he clearly won both fights, So yeah. And guess what? The haters never got to see him lose. Never got to see it. At the end of Floyd's career, the haters had to go cry in the car because they never got to see Floyd lose. Because after Floyd got cheated in that Olympics, blatantly cheated. Remember the referee, when the ring announcer was announcing the winner in the gold medal match in the Olympics, the referee had Floyd's hand on the way up. And then the ring announcer said the other guy's name. And who better know who won the fight than the referee? He had Floyd's hand on the way up. So after that fight, Floyd said, I am never going to experience... Shut the hell up, phone. Do it one more time. So after that fight, Floyd said, I am never going to experience the feeling of losing again, and he never did. He never did. You know, at that time, I was like, yeah, you're going to lose again in the pros at least once or twice. But hey, he never lost again in his career. Yep, 50-0. And like I said, the haters had to go cry in the car. Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. versus Pernell Whitaker. San Antonio, Texas, September 10th, 1993. Now, in his first attempt to win the welterweight title, the Mexican legend JCC faced off with Sweepy before 60,000 fans at the Alamo Dome. 60,000 was in that place that night. After the 12 rounds, the scorecards read 115, 115, 115, 115, 115, 113, which meant a majority draw. You know, you got to get the majority, and the majority went to the draw, 2 out of the 3 cards. So that allowed Whitaker to keep the belt in a fight. Most felt he had won decisively. And Sports Illustrated put out their issue the next week. You know, some of the older people will remember had robbed on the first page in big letters, ROBBED, across the top. Yep, robbed. Next, Thomas the Hitman Hearns versus Pipino Cuevas, Detroit, Michigan, August 2nd, 1980. August 2nd, 1980. This date will be remembered as one of the greatest episodes of the Hitman's career, as he crushed then welterweight titleist Jose Pipino Cuevas in 2 rounds at the Joe Louis Arena in his hometown. And that was Hearns' first professional title, by the way. Hearns made the Mexican bite the dust in dramatic fashion after only 2 rounds, finishing the fight with a massive right hand. I mean, a massive right hand. Massive. Next, Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Oscar De La Hoya, Las Vegas, Nevada, May 5th, 2007. These are some of the greatest United States versus Mexico fights of all time. Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Oscar De La Hoya, Las Vegas, May 5th, 2007. Yeah, Oscar was doing all that missing when Floyd was on the ropes. And Oscar was throwing all those punches, missing like crazy. A lot of people gave him credit for those flurries and said he won the fight, but no. Even Floyd's father was fooled by it. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather Sr. got in the ring at the fight talking about Oscar won. Even he got fooled by Oscar doing all that missing, man. He wasn't hitting nothing but air. In the most expensive fight in boxing history, Mayweather defeated De La Hoya by split decision to take his junior middleweight title, take Oscar's junior middleweight title at the MGM Grand. Mayweather saved that night thanks to his boxing, okay? Although some thought that Oscar had done enough to keep his belts, right? Mayweather's first fight at 154 pounds, that's what that was. And it was a catchweight, wasn't it? But it was for the 154-pound title. Was it 152? I think it was a catchweight, right? But it was for Oscar's junior middleweight crown. I remember Floyd saying after the fight, he said, "You saw welterweight be the junior middleweight tonight." Was that the fight where him and Larry Hazard got into it? I don't know. I don't think that's the one. I think that was Madonna too, wasn't it? When him and Larry Hazard got it. He told Larry Hazard, "You don't know shit about boxing," and Larry Hazard said, "If I was 20 years younger, I would whip your ass." I mean, I would kick your ass. Remember that? I think that was Madonna too, right? That wasn't Oscar, no. Okay, some of the best United States versus Mexico fights. Michael Carbajal versus Humberto Gonzalez. Oh, that was one. That was good. Ooh-wee. Carbajal versus Gonzalez won. Las Vegas, March 13th, 1993. Now, I wanted to see Ricardo Lopez against both of them, but Ricardo never fought either one of them. And they were all down there around the same weights for years, man, throughout the 90s. Yep. In one of the most shocking fights in the history of the Mexican-American rivalry, Carvajal and Gonzalez became the first junior flyweight boxers to earn $1 million. That night at the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, Carvajal stopped La Chiquita in 7 rounds to unify titles. Yeah. They each had, I don't know which is which, but they each had titles. And Carvajal stopped him in 7 rounds. Nobody expected that. Yeah. He stopped La Chiquita. Okay. Next, some of the greatest Mexico-United States fights. Julio Cesar Chavez versus Meldrick Taylor. 1. Las Vegas, Nevada. March 17th, 1990. The 2-second fight. One of the greatest victories of Mexican boxing. Chavez was about to lose his undefeated record to Taylor, but with awesome persistence, the Mexican and a little help from Richard Steele, the Mexican gave all he had and knocked Taylor out just 2 seconds before the end of the fight. Now, who stopped the fight with 2 seconds left? Closing the deal and unifying the super lightweight titles at the Hilton Hotel. Who stopped the fight with 2 seconds left? What more damage can you do in 2 seconds? If any kind of damage was done to the man, you should have been stopped it. Okay, 2 seconds wasn't saving him. Plus, he was winning on all 3 judges' cards. But they gave Richard Steele the signal. You know, they gave him the signal saying, well, Richard, no way we're going to be able to cheat this kid because he clearly done beat Julio. So stop it. And Richard Steele stopped it. His cheating ass. Yeah. That was definitely a fixed fight there. And they claim they got the mafia out of it in the 60s. Well, who needs the mafia when you got shit like that going on? Mauricio, his father was running the WBC. Then his father was just as bad as he was. I think his name was Jose. Was it Jose? Yeah. So who needs the mafia when you got the Suleimans and the Bob Father and people like that around? Richard Steele, Tony Weeks, that other referee. The one that did Devin and Ryan, Harvey Dock. Who needs the mafia? Probably was better off with the mafia running it, you know, than them clowns. Look at Oshaki and Conceicao won, or Maxie Hughes and George Kambosos. George Kambosos, I gave him 2 rounds, but arguably you could give Maxie Hughes a shutout, but they gave the fight to Kambosos. He was trying to set up Kambosos and Lomachenko, remember? That's all they talked about leading up to the fight was Kambosos and Lomachenko. Kambosos went in there and got his ass beat, so they cheated for him. The man barely won a round, and they gave him the fight. And you see Kambosos' face when they said his name, when the ring announcer said his name? Mouth dropped open like, who, me? Kambosos was the most shocked one in the building when he won that fight, man. So yeah, who needs the mafia when you got them characters around? And the Diego Corrales versus Jose Luis Castillo, Las Vegas, Nevada, May 7th, 2005. Looking at some of the top Mexican versus United States fights of all time. Considered by many to be the best fight of this century. The late Corrales' dramatic 10th round TKO of Castillo was undoubtedly the most exciting chapter between Mexican and American fighters. Corrales came back from 2 knockdowns in the 10th round to stop Castillo on his feet and unify the lightweight titles. Yeah, that was a barn burner there. Yeah, Castillo and Corrales. Too bad one of Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward wasn't Mexican. That would have been on here. But, you know, what were they both? What was Mickey Ward? English? Gatti was American. Yeah. Mickey Ward from the UK, right? Or was he American? I don't know. Wasn't neither one of them Mexican, or they would definitely be on this list. Let's Talk Fashion in the building. What's up, Let's Talk Fashion? We was just talking about some the greatest United States versus Mexico fights of all time. Yeah. Had 10 good ones. We're going to talk about some the top South because Oregon ran a little short, didn't have a lot of history for boxing in the states for Oregon today. So now we're going to talk about some southpaws. But first, you don't forget next week is the deadline, is the end. The raffle is next week for the ticket. So you got a week to get your ticket. And then the meet and greet is 1 week after that. Okay. So $30 will get you into the event and put you in the drawing for a ticket. Or $10 will get you a ticket. Or $25, the block special will get you 3 tickets. So you can buy a ticket to the event and get the block special. You got 4 chances. And then the drawing is next week, a week before the fight, so you can have time to plan and get up there for the fight. Or remember, if the winner of the ticket can't make the fight, I'm going to be in New York that weekend, so I'll go in your place, right? No brainer. So holler at me. Okay. Oh man. Let's talk about the
5. That's 410-322-4365. And have a great JBT day. Brought to you by the JBT, Curtis Sewell, Treasurer.
Not bad. It started at the end. Damn.
He is doing it again. Another meet and greet, this time in Brooklyn, New York, during the Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach Fight Week. Friday, February 28th from 8 p.m. until midnight. If you're planning on being in town for the fight, pull up on us at the meet and greet. Tickets can be purchased via Cash App at JBT Network 1. That's JBT Network 1. There is an early bird special for $20 from now until February the 1st. Then it's $30. That covers entry and food. There will also be a cash bar, so make sure you get your tickets early. Only a limited number of tickets will be sold, so make sure that you are in that number. Several door prizes will be given away. For more information, call 410-322-4365. That's 410-322-4365. And have a great JBT day. Brought to you by the JBT, Curtis Sewell, Treasurer.
Okay, that's me. I'm back. All right. Yeah, we're gonna talk about some southpaws now. Let's talk fashion. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. I've blended up fashion, sports, entertainment, and life. Right? Okay. So let's talk about some southpaws now. Since our boxing in the States ran a little short. 12 of the top southpaws of all time. Okay? Jarrell Hattie, Kensaw Love, one in the building. What's up? How y'all doing today? Oregon ran a little short. We into the backup plan now. Some of the top southpaws of all time. Just a little bit about them. Salute Jarrell Hattie and Kensaw Love, one. Next week is Pennsylvania for the boxing in the States. Tomorrow is the life and career of Vladimir Klitschko. No, Vitaly Klitschko. The oldest one first. We're going to do both of them, but the oldest first. Vladimir is the oldest, I think. Now, where's my southpaws at? There it is, right there. Okay. Top 12 greatest southpaws. 12 of the top southpaws. Okay, I don't like to say the best because somebody always get left out. Now, coming in at number 12, Lou Broyard, right? Achieving success at both 147 and 160. This converted southpaw boasts wins over a long list of Hall of Famers, including Baby Joe Gans, Jimmy McLaurin, the Toy Bulldog, Mickey Walker, Young Corbett III, and Bob Olin. That's a who's who of that era back there. Kosai Galaxy. Kosai Galaxy. The hard-punching Galaxy scored 43 knockouts in 49 wins. That's a hellacious knockout right there. While dominating the super flyweight division from 1984 to 1991. Dominance at super flyweight. What's that, 115? Yes, the one we talked about yesterday. Remember, we talked about Kosai. That's the knockout rate of 87.7%. Okay? And how about Joe Kawasaki? Talking about some great southpaws. Joe Kawasaki. Retired undefeated with 22 world title wins, including victories over Roy Jones Jr. and Bernard Hopkins and Mikhail Kessler. 46-0, never lost. Joe Kawasaki. Gabriel Flash Elorday, one of the greatest of the great Filipino boxers. Flash Elorday was a long reigning champion, boasting wins over Teddy Davis, Harold Gomes, Fujio Mikami, Ismael Laguna, and the great legendary Sandy Sadler. Yeah, Elorday had wins over all of them. And arguably, not Manny Pacquiao, Elorday is arguably the greatest Filipino fighter of all times. All times. Okay? We got Vicente Saldivar. Talk about some great southpaws. Arguably, the finest featherweight of the 1960s. Saldivar defeated such top-notch talents as Sugar Ramos, Howard Winstone, and Jose Legra. Vicente Saldivar, great southpaw. Freddie Miller, featherweight champion in the 1930s. Freddie Miller notched victories over Petey Saran, Baby Arizmendi, Chalky Wright, Panama Al Brown, and Freddie Cochran. Lou Tendler, one of the greatest to never win a world title. Tendler had the misfortune to compete in the lightweight division at the same time as the great Benny Leonard. Probably the greatest lightweight of all time, Benny Leonard. And Tendler gave Benny Leonard the Ghetto Wizard, two of his toughest fights, while also notching wins over Richie Mitchell, Rocky Kansas, and Johnny Dundee. He gave the Ghetto Wizard, Benny Leonard, arguably the greatest lightweight of all time, him or Roberto Duran. Tendler gave him two of his toughest fights of his career. You know, Benny Leonard went like 20 years without losing a fight, okay? Like the last 20 years of his career. Prime versus Prime, him and Roberto Duran, I don't know about that one. Young Corbett III. These are all old school southpaws, you know. BBO Boxing TV, what's happening? How you doing today? BBO Boxing TV, hashtag STN. Salute. We just talking about some great old school southpaws. You know, Oregon was the subject of the boxing in the States, but it ran a little short. So yeah, some great old school southpaws. Okay, young Corbett III. He was a bad boy. With 124 wins in his career, many against some of the best boxers of all time. Young Corbett III remains a true southpaw great. Avoided by champions for years, he finally seized the welterweight crown by defeating Jackie Fields. He holds wins over fellow Hall of Famers Seferino Garcia, Gus Lesnovich, the Toy Bulldog, Mickey Walker, Billy Conn, and Fred Apostoli. Now, Billy Conn was the one, remember, was giving Joe Louis a boxing lesson. No, that's not Billy Conn. Where is it? Let me see. Yeah, that was Billy. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the one that was beating Joe Louis through 12 rounds. Then he decided he was boxing beautifully, giving Joe Louis a boxing lessons for 12 rounds. Now, if it was 12-round fights back then, he would have been the champion, and all that 12-year reign and stuff, history would have been altered dramatically. You know, Joe Louis wouldn't have never been champion for 12 straight years, or 25 straight defenses, all that would have been over. But it was 15 rounds, and Billy Conn got cocky, came out in round 13 and decided he's going to stand right in front of Joe Louis, and got knocked out right away instead of keeping on boxing. You know, Joe Louis needed a knockout. But it wasn't Billy Conn, it was another Billy. But yeah, that made me think of him. That was crazy, man. And you know, this guy was known to be in throwing fixed fights, so it might have been fixed because he had Joe Louis beat, you know. So yeah, talking about some top southpaws though. Tiger Flowers. How about Tiger Flowers? Competing with Mickey Walker and Harry Greb automatically sets Flowers apart. He the only man that gave Harry Greb his only loss at middleweight, right? He gave the Pittsburgh Windmill 2 tough battles, and his loss to Walker was widely viewed as a robbery. He racked up an incredible 118 wins in less than a decade, man. Less than 10 years, 118 wins. So say 9 years. Less than 10, that's what they said. So say he did it in 9. That would be 13 fights a year. Wow. That's more than some fighters fight in 4 or 5 years nowadays. 13 fights in 1 year? Them guys was doing some fighting back in them days, man. Tiger Flowers. Okay. How about Marvelous Marvin Hagler? Had to put him on here. Hagler was a dominant middleweight for an entire decade. Avoided by the champions of his time, he finally won the world title in 1980 and held it for over 6 years, defeating, among others, Vito Antuofermo, Alan Minter, the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran, the Hitman Thomas Hearns, and John the Beast Mugabe. As Hagler tallied 62 wins in 67 fights, 52 knockouts. And I told y'all this, King Carlos Monzon and Marvin Hagler ruled middleweight from 1970 to 1987. That's 17 years. 14 of those 17 years, either King Carlos Monzon or Marvelous Marvin Hagler was the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. 14 out of those 17 years. Monzon had it from 1970 to 1977. Hagler had it from 1980 to 1987. It was 3 years in there where somebody else had it, but I don't even remember who it was. Vito Antuofermo and Alan Minter probably was the two that had it between 77 and 80. Because Hagler, he took it from Antuofermo, but they robbed him and called it a draw. So Antuofermo kept it in the draw. But then Minter, he beat Minter, and they gave it to him. So yeah, those were probably the other two that had it in that stretch. But King Carlos Monzon and Marvin Hagler. But outside the ring, Carlos Monzon was crazy. He ended life in prison. He threw his wife off of a second-floor balcony and killed her. And then guess what? He got killed in a car accident on his way back to prison. He got a furlough. How do you get a furlough from prison on a murder charge? He was out on furlough when he died in a car accident on the way back to prison. Go figure. That was in Argentina, where he was from. They give furloughs on murder. He threw his wife off the second-floor balcony, but they let him go home for the weekend from prison. Crazy, ain't it? Yeah, but Carlos was a crazy dude, man. But he was bad in that ring. But outside the ring, he was off the chain. Manny Pacquiao, talking about some great southpaws. Manny Pacquiao. Okay? The Pac-Man. Everybody hitting the like button. The Pac-Man or Pac-Man. Yeah, I guess so. Now, Manny, one of the dominant boxers of his time. Yeah, he went through them 2000s, man. Definitely the fighter of the decade, 2000, 2009. But was he juicing? A lot of people say he was juicing. Never proven, never caught. So, hey, he wasn't doing it. If you wasn't caught, it ain't wrong, right? If you don't get caught. Because if you rob that bank and don't get caught, you're going to spend them millions. So, hey, man, he got away with juicing. He just got away with it, you know? If he was, who knows? A lot of people think he was, but he was never proven to be. Now, one of the dominant boxers of his time, Pacquiao has won 10 world titles in 8 divisions and defeated such champions as Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, Oscar De La Hoya, Juan Manuel Marquez, Miguel Cotto, Timothy Bradley, Adrian Broner. I don't know how they gave Tim Bradley that fight against Manny. Just like when Kambosos, they gave him the win against Maxie Hughes. Tim Bradley was the most surprised one in the building when they said his name that night. I read his lips. He said, "Who, me?" When the announcer said, and the winner is Tim Bradley, I read his lips. He said, "Who, me?" Yeah, he didn't. He knew he lost that fight. But in Pacquiao also be Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman. Amazingly, having passed the 4-decade mark, the Pac-Man continued to be a top talent in the sport after he went past the 4-decade mark. He's the only man to win titles in 4 different decades. Manny Pacquiao, check it out. Now, we had 2 fighters who fought in 5 decades, Jack Johnson and Roberto Duran, but they did not win titles in all 5 of those decades. Manny won titles in 4 different decades. Okay? Bad man. Manuel Pacquiao. And Manuel Pacquiao Jr. is in the amateurs right now. I was keeping track of him, but I kind of lost track. But yeah. Remember, he used to be sitting there with his mother watching Manny fight? I guess he was crying too when Juan Manuel Marquez looked like he had killed Manny that night, remember? Manny was laying there by the ropes, motionless, face down. Yeah. Junior was sitting in the audience that night, but Junior is a fighter himself now in the amateurs. Yeah. He's been fighting for like 2 or 3 years now. And finally, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker for the greatest southpaws. Arguably the finest boxer, pound for pound, of the 1990s. Arguably, he is, man. Sweet Pea won world titles in 4 divisions and did not suffer a truly legitimate defeat until he was 35 years old. Yeah, all them 54 them were robberies. One of the greatest defensive boxers of all time. I got Willie Peppers number 1, though. Sorry, Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea is 2. Willie Peppers 1. Floyd is 3. Nicolino Loesch is 4. James Toney might be 5. Yeah. But yeah, Willie Peppers definitely number 1. The man won a round without throwing a punch. You know, where they do that at? Yeah, he won the round on ring generalship. His opponent threw plenty of punches, but he couldn't hit Willie, right? So yeah. Now some people at ringside say Willie threw a couple body shots, so I don't know. I didn't see that. I can't find that fight. Define Arnie 1 in the building. What's up, Define Arnie 1? How you doing? And Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more in the building. Better pay attention. Define Arnie 1 in the building. Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. We're just talking about a little boxing history, some southpaws and some stuff that happened throughout history. And yeah, we was talking about Sweet Pea. I was talking about some defensive fighters. I give number 1 to Willie Pep. Okay. I've seen him fight, but I didn't see that one way. No, I ain't seen him live. Now, I ain't that damn old. I seen him on tape. Let me correct that. I seen Willie Pep on film fight, not live. Y'all think I'm about 80? And I have to give him the best defensive fighter, man. Yeah. But I can't find that fight where he won the round without throwing a punch. I've tried. I cannot find it. I had the guy's name and everything. I think it was Jackie Graves was the guy's name he fought against. I can't find that fight. I want to see that. I think it was the third round. And I think he told some reporters in the audience, watch me this round. I'm going to win this round without throwing a punch. Right? And they say he went out there and did it. You know? And the judges gave it to him. On ring generalship, I guess. But he was talking about Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker is arguably the greatest defensive fighter of all time. I give it to Willie Pep. And Pernell Whitaker, he had some victories over some excellent fighters like Freddie Pendleton, Azuma Nelson, Jose Luis Ramirez. Yeah, that was one of the robberies. He beat Jose Luis Ramirez in the rematch. Ramirez won the first fight. It looked like almost like the same fight, but the judges saw each one differently. Both was split decisions. James McGirt, check him out. Pernell Whitaker, Jose Luis Ramirez 1, Pernell Whitaker, Jose Luis Ramirez 2. And the judges judged both fights differently, but it basically, went the same way. I mean, your 12 rounders. And he beat Buddy McGirt, and him and Julio Cesar Chavez had that controversial draw, remember? That's them up there on the screen. Some honorable, these are southpaws right here. Some honorable mentions for the southpaws are Jiro Watanabe. We talked about him yesterday when we covered junior bantamweight. Delio Lloyd, Cornelius Boza Edwards, Mark Too Sharp Johnson, Hilario Zapata, Rolando Navarrete, Winky Wright, Marvin Johnson, Melio Patina, Terrence Crawford, Al McCoy, Jose Luis Ramirez, Rafael Buzuka Limon, Yoko Gushikin, Ayub Kalule. These are honorable mentions on southpaws. You couldn't mention all of them. Vasil Lomachenko, Hector Macho Camacho, Antonio Tarver, Daniel Zaragoza, Sergio Martinez, Guillermo Rigondeaux, Michael Moorer, Alexander Usyk, Zab Judah, Johnny Wilson, Nassim Hamed. Yeah, those are some of the great southpaws throughout boxing history. Just some great fighters, man. Yeah, throughout the history of the sport. Some southpaws. Some great ones out there, active now. Gervonta Davis, Bud Crawford, I said him. Earl Spence. Is David Morrell a southpaw? David Morrell, I think. Who else? Bam. I want to see the Monster and Bam and Navarrete this year. Because the Monster fought in January, right? So he could fight Navarrete around summertime. And the Monster always fight in December or January. So fight Bam in December or January. Get them both in. Now, him and Navarrete going to be in Japan. That ain't going to be no advantage for the Monster there because Navarrete used to fight over there too. And then he probably going to bring Bam over there, If Bam. Now, Navarrete is only one weight class below him. Bam is at 115. So, yes, that's not that far to go. 115 and 122. But I would say the more realistic fight would be Navarrete and the Monster, right? I would think. But yeah, it would be nice if we could get that one, man. Yeah. It would be nice if we could get Navarrete. I mean, not Navarrete. What am I thinking about? Damn. Junto Nakatani. I'm talking about Navarrete. I meant Nakatani. I'm sorry. I meant Nakatani. Why didn't somebody correct me? Yeah, Nakatani. Junto Nakatani. Yeah. Yeah, those are some good fights. We looking like I talked about Monday. Tank and Shakur. I think we're gonna get that this year. Late. I said like 2 years ago we're gonna get that late 2025. And I still wouldn't mind seeing Joshua Fury. Remember how late they got Khan and Kell Brook, and them UK fans turned out for that. And Joshua and Fury is closer to their prime than Brook and Khan was when they finally fought. And Joshua and Fury will be a better fight than those two, I think, right? Or Usyk. Vladimir Klitschko talked about coming out of retirement, right, to fight Usyk. Did y'all hear about that? Yeah. Vladimir Klitschko talked about coming out of retirement to fight Usyk at 48 years old. Okay? Who wants to see that? Now, if Usyk doesn't retire, fight Dubois and settle that. So many people talking about that low blow or non-low blow. So fight him, beat him, and settle that. Okay? Shut everybody up. Or Usyk can fight that young guy, Moses Otama. Yeah. Everybody else fighting young guys with 10, 11 fights. You know? So Usyk and Moses Otama would be a good one, I think. Or David Benavidez against the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. Now, if Bivol wins, we might get the rubber match, so Benavidez will have to wait. Or if Beterbiev wins, he might retire, so Benavidez still might not get that fight. I think either one of them beats him. Either one of them beats Benavidez. Okay, with no problem. With no problem whatsoever. I don't want to see no Canelo and Bud. Canelo just gonna knock Bud down, let us know he can do it, then he's gonna carry him for 12 rounds like he been doing. Canelo haven't had a knockout since when? Like 2020 or something? When the last time Canelo had a knockout? Anybody know? It's been a while. It's been a good while. At least 3 years. So Canelo ain't knocking nobody out, but ain't nobody knocking Canelo out neither. Yeah, but we're in good shape for this year. We got that big card next week. 7 championship fights on the card. Okay, next week in next Saturday in Riyadh season. But this is the last crescendo, and we got Keyshawn tomorrow. The businessman going after his first major title. I think he'll get it. Yeah, I believe he'll get it. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like that Lemos guy. Because this guy, Dennis ain't going to be in there throwing all wall and wide, repetitive. That guy is disciplined. And that's tomorrow. Yes. Friday Night Boxing. And that's a Ballfather joint, remember? So we're looking forward to that. And then Saturday, don't forget, it's Honor Barbosa. Ant McQueen in the building. It's Honor Barbosa and Jack Catterall, right? Isn't that Saturday? So yeah. We are going to be okay. And then we got a good one on the 24th. David Cuellar and Junto Nakatani. Nobody's talking about that. That's that 118. Yeah. David Cuellar is a pretty good Mexican fighter. Going here, I don't think he's going to beat Junto, but he's going over to Japan, and it should be a good competitive fight. It's worth talking about. Nobody's mentioning that one, but that's going to be a good one. That's on the 24th. You know, I think it's on how they fight over there. I think it's like early in the morning on a Tuesday, early Tuesday morning. Yeah, that's 2 days after the Better Be Bivol rematch. Yep, on the 24th. We got Just Do Boxing coming up shortly. A minute. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow is the life and career of Vitaly Klitschko. 2 p.m. to close out this big week of boxing history. Don't forget, get your ticket for the raffle. It's a week from tomorrow. Then the meet and greet is 2 weeks from tomorrow. So still got a week to get your ticket. $10 get you 1 chance. $25 get you 3 chances. Or $30 to the meet and greet automatically puts you in the drawing. And remember, the meet and greet is the 28th, but the drawing is the 21st. So the winner will have time to make the right preparations and everything to make it up to the fight. We don't want to win the ticket on the 28th and then have to make your plans and stuff for the next day. That wouldn't be fair. So you have a whole week. Okay? And that's what I have for today. Appreciate everybody that stopped by today. The likes are looking good. Oh, no Just Do today? Okay. Ed says no Just Do. Damn. Okay, no Just Do Boxing today, everybody. So the next thing, we have BBO Boxing TV at 8. BBO #STN. I gotta call BBO, see what the STN is all about. Crush the Legend STN. Then we got the Rides Podcast at 9 p.m. No Just Do Boxing today. Okay. So do we have a casuals corner or anything in there today, in between there? Okay, but I appreciate everybody. Aunt McQueen, Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Define Arnie 1, BBO Boxing TV, Jarrell Hattie, Kensaw Love 1, Let's Talk Fashion, Lloyd Freezer, Thomas Hill, Crush the Legend, Mike Grimm, Trump, Mike Mazik, Miss Cass. No Just Do Boxing today. I'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. Enjoy your afternoon. BBO Boxing TV at 8. Rides Podcast at 9. Everybody have a great day. Salute Al Booger. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Al Booger is in the building. Appreciate you, AB. Have a good day, everybody.